You are Locked On Broncos POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good afternoon, good evening, whatever you want to refer to it as, Broncos country, and welcome on in to your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing well out there as the Denver Broncos improve to 6-5 on the year following their absolute thumping of the Atlanta Falcons. Your final score, 38-6. A lot of big takeaways from the game here today. Bo Nix throwing for 300-plus yards, recording 4 touchdowns. The offense kicks it into gear. The defense gets the job done. And I've got some post-game interviews on my TV right now. I just heard from Sean Payton, so we'll break it all down here for you on your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. But guys, today's episode of your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST is brought to you by our friends over at Hillsdale College. Today's episode, like I said, is brought to you by Hillsdale. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. More from our friends at Hillsdale College here in just a little bit. But guys, also do me a favor. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Helps me out as I'm building this channel up brick by brick. And I'm also the host of the Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, which we'll have coming up here this evening in just a couple hours or so after they go final. And Locked On Buffs yesterday as well. So do me that favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's talk a little Denver Broncos football. We'll do some big picture stuff to kind of open up the program here today, and then we'll narrow focus with Bo Nix in the defense and looking ahead to the Broncos schedule moving forward this year as they're back on the winning path, snapping that 2-game losing streak. And to kind of start there, terrible loss to Baltimore. They were just not in the same league as the Baltimore Ravens. And they followed that up with a heartbreaking loss to the division rival Kansas City Chiefs, who I know are in a close game right now with the Buffalo Bills. And the question of this game today is, how were you going to respond? 2 consecutive games on the road, 2 bad losses for 2 different reasons. And for me today, the Broncos checked off darn near every box that you wanted to see them check off when it comes to bouncing back. The defense settled, really doesn't even allow Atlanta to settle into any sort of a groove throughout the course of the afternoon. And the offense hits the ground running with a score on their first drive. Bo Nix turns in probably the best game of his rookie season so far. And the Denver Broncos don't only win this game, they dominate this game against the Atlanta Falcons. 38-6 your final score. A lot to like about how the Broncos were able to perform here today. We got to talk about Bo Nix here off the rip, though. I mean, 28 for 33, 307 passing yards for Bo Nix, which is a career high for him. The first time he's thrown for 300-plus yards in a single game this season, an average of 9.3 yards per reception, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, which has also been a key over the last month and a half or so. Bo Nix has been exquisite at finding the open man and limiting the turnovers. I believe he had 4 turnovers through the first 4 games of the season, and I believe now 2 interceptions since that moment. So Bo Nix and the Broncos offense are really starting to figure some things out here. He was sacked 1 time, which you like to see. You know, was had a number of instances there where he could have been sacked additional times, but only 1 sack today for Bo Nix. But more importantly, 145. That was his quarterback rating for the afternoon today, as the Broncos again taking down the Atlanta Falcons 38-6. So plenty to talk about, man. I loved the variety of guys that were getting some looks in the wide receiver department. Cortland Sutton, Devon Vele doing some nice stuff. You know, that running back by committee, Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Esme maybe don't pop off of the stat sheet, but they were involved in the offensive attack today. But it was Javonte Williams, the guy who we thought might not have a role in this offense, or a diminishing role rather, with how, you know, Audric Estime has kind of been confirmed as the running back 1 for the Denver Broncos. Well, you know, Javonte Williams said, you know, hold that thought for just a moment. 9 carries today for Javonte Williams, including 59 yards, but most impressive, he had a touchdown, but how he scored the touchdown, I felt like was most impressive for Javonte Williams today in the red zone with their offense, where the Denver Broncos, it's like a halfback draw up the middle. And Javonte's, you know, initially makes contact and is starting to be slowed down right around the 5-yard line of Atlanta. And, he just keeps the legs moving, keeps them moving. His teammates come, they rally, there's a huddle, and they are able to push Javonte Williams into the end zone for a touchdown right before the half. That to me was exceptional. And again, for this kind of running back by committee approach that Sean Payton has elected to take throughout the course of the season, which I may add, I do think is probably the right way to handle this situation, just because I don't think you have like you don't have a Saquon Barkley, right? You don't have a Kyron Williams. You don't have a Christian McCaffrey when healthy, right? It really is kind of a running back room that is by committee for a number of reasons. You've got Audric Estime, who's the new kid on the block. You've got Jaleel McLaughlin, who's kind of your shiftier, burstier type of running back. And then you've got Javonte Williams, who's kind of that, thick, hard-headed running back that keeps his head down, is able to absorb some contact and keep moving forward. So, 3 different running backs for 3 different situations is kind of what Sean Payton has been working with today. But I also think with the running back room, it's a little bit of what have you done for me lately? And I think that's a large reason why you saw a lot of conversation around Audric Estime this week, both from the fan base, those on social media, and Coach Payton himself. But with his performance today, I think Javonte Williams, has kind of thrown his cap back in the ring here as, maybe trying to eat up some of those RB1 type of reps. So I thought he was phenomenal today, was Javonte, in the 9 carries that he did have, And I also liked the balanced attack from the Broncos. I just think they did a decent job of establishing the run, or at least making the attempt to. Only 26 rushes on the afternoon compared to 33 passing attempts for Bo Nix. But you were able to kind of take some of that pressure off of Bo Nix, work the play action here a little bit. And I think the rushing attack certainly has a sorry, I'm getting texted about the Nuggets game right now. Has the ability to kind of take that pressure off of Bo Nix, as I just mentioned. And we're going to spend a majority of the second segment kind of talking some big picture Bo Nix, obviously looking at his game here today. But this is a guy, they mentioned it on the broadcast, that if Bo Nix can continue to play the way that he has been playing for the last 6 or 7 weeks now, he is going to find himself in the thick of the Rookie of the Year running alongside Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. And it did not look like it was going to be that way after the first 4 games of the season. But Sean Payton and Bo Nix, their chemistry continues to grow, and his confidence continues to grow, does Bo Nix. So save some of those thoughts here for after the break. But in unit, or kind of big picture thoughts again here today, man, Kirk Cousins and the offense were just unable to get anything going in this game. Under 200 passing yards for Kirk Cousins. Bijan Robinson was borderline non-existent throughout the course of this game, both as a rusher and as a receiver. Drake London, nobody did anything really for the Atlanta Falcons on offense, which is an offensive unit that is, loaded with talent. Like I said, you've got the veteran there in Kirk Cousins, who's been there and done that. We've seen him run up scores in years past. You limit him. You limit Bijan Robinson, who's one of the more dynamic running backs in the NFL. Drake London, thanks for playing. Ray McLeod, all right, you had a fine game, decent, I guess you could say. Darnell Mooney kept in check. Kyle Pitts, only 1 reception on the game today. I mean, Vance Joseph and the Broncos defense did an excellent job at being prepared for this Atlanta Falcons team at home, where the Broncos obviously have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL, with Broncos country and the environment and just the overall degree of difficulty that, it requires to play here in Denver, specifically this year. I feel like their home field advantage, we know this for a fact, that home field advantage, at least from a betting perspective, has been diminished over the last, half decade or so. But when the Broncos are good and their fans are into it and getting what they're, paying for in regards to the price of admission, in Power Field, the Broncos are one of the more hostile environments, I would say, in the NFL. I know it's an over talked about topic as well, but playing a mile above sea level versus a team in Atlanta that plays down, at sea level in a dome, even though it was beautiful out today in the Mile High City, man. Wow, what a great mid-November day. But all of that stuff was working because you saw the Broncos get out to a quick start. You saw them put pressure on Atlanta. You saw the Broncos defense not allow Atlanta to settle into a groove. And it's like, oh, now we got to pivot our game plan. And the Broncos at that point had to run away from the game. And even with Atlanta pivoting and needing to try to get a little bit more explosive on offense to keep this game close, they were unable to do so because the Denver Broncos defense absolutely shut them down today. Only 6 points for the Atlanta Falcons. Naturally, both of those being field goals. Nobody reached the end zone this afternoon for the Atlanta Falcons as the Denver Broncos bounce back to snap their 2-game losing streak to beat the Atlanta Falcons 38-6. Both teams with a 6-5 record right now, and Denver improves to 3-2 at home. All right, guys, I'm going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue along with the conversation. For any of y'all watching live on YouTube, appreciate you guys big time. Drop some comments. Let me know what your big takeaway of the game was this afternoon. What were you most impressed with Bo Nix? What did you make of the wide receiver department? What did you make of the defense? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We'll go back and forth, and we'll have a good time here on your Locked On Broncos postcast. Stick with me, folks. Back in just a moment. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Hillsdale College, guys, because time is our most precious commodity. So don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Maybe, maybe not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses. Here are just a few of the courses available. Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution. Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism, guys. Be sure to check out our friends over at Hillsdale. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in whenever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu /lockedon to enroll. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Be sure to check out our friends over at Hillsdale College, guys, and let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you. And let me also tell you about our friends here over at Prize Picks, guys. You might be wondering, well, what is Prize Picks? Let me tell you. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. And guys, you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the best place to play to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. And guys, Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And guys, Prize Picks also now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this season. Guys, make sure to check out our friends over at Prize Picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections for up to 25%. Even more value for your lineups, guys. Be sure to check out our friends over at Prize Picks, proud sponsor of the Locked On Broncos postcast. Let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you, and use that code Locked On NFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Broncos postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, do me a favor, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button as we have some fun here and talk a little Denver Broncos football on a victory show, baby. You know, that was 2 tough weeks in a row there against the Ravens and the Chiefs, but the Broncos bouncing back today in pretty dominant fashion, taking down the Atlanta Falcons 38-6. So I want to talk some Bo Nix here. I gave you his stat line there in the first segment of the show. Well, let's kind of rehash that and do some big thoughts here. Bo Nix today, his best game of the season by far, 28 for 33, 307 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, only sacked 1 time, and a quarterback rating of 145. Bo Nix today, and really Bo Nix for the last 4, 5, maybe 6 games moving forward here, has just looked more and more and more and more comfortable. And we know that Sean Payton is a guy that, has a pretty big brain when it comes to running NFL offenses and trying to, he used the word in his post-game press conference, the explosive plays, which you saw were available today for Bo Nix. The better that Bo Nix gets, the quicker that Bo Nix is able to process what's going on the football field, and the more confident that Bo Nix feels in his ability, the better the Broncos offense will continue to be as the course of the season rolls on. I mean, this is a team that is now well within striking distance of making a playoff spot. This was not a must-win game. I mean, it was a kind of have to win game. The Broncos would have still been in decent position had they lost today's game to still make the playoffs. But winning today's game, just makes the process and the path a little bit more clearer here. And again, you go through that gauntlet of a schedule, right, for the last 2 weeks where, nobody played well against Baltimore. And Bo actually played pretty good last week, I would say, against the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, I believe, even came out and told Sean Payton after the fact, that Bo Nix is a player. And so, you're seeing it all kind of come together. But today, against an Atlanta Falcons team that does not rush the passer very well, you saw Bo Nix have time. You saw Bo Nix play with that confidence. And as I mentioned, guys, love the fact that he was able to find a number of different receivers today. Cortland Sutton, 7 receptions for 78 yards. He was 7 of 8 on his targets. Devon Vele, 4 receptions for 66 yards. Lil Jordan Humphrey, 4 receptions for 52 yards. Marvin Mims, 2 for 49. Javonte had 28 yards receiving out of the backfield. I mean, all in all, man, you had a number of different guys getting involved for the Broncos today, which, much like the running back room, not that it's wide receiver by committee for the Denver Broncos, but it's like, you know what you have in Cortland Sutton. He's their de facto number 1 receiver. And then from there, it's kind of like guys are fighting for receptions a little bit. And I just thought Bo did a great job of opening up the passing game, as did Sean Payton calling the plays, and they just had a number of guys that were able to answer the call here today. Devon Vele over the last couple of weeks has been great for the Denver Broncos. As I mentioned, 66 yards receiving today for Mr. Devon Vele. And Lil Jordan Humphrey, a guy that I've been a little hot and cold with over the course of the season, 52 yards receiving, but that touchdown pass he caught, a little bit of a busted coverage from Atlanta, but he was running kind of a crossing route, stayed skinny, and then opened up in the middle of the field, and nobody from Atlanta just picked him up running across the field. I mean, that was a nice route from Lil Jordan Humphrey, able to secure the ball wide open and punch it into the end zone. Those are the types of things that I saw from Bo Nix in the offense today, whether Atlanta's defense is that good or not, that shows me signs that this team is growing. Because how many times over the years, even with Russell Wilson last year, were the Broncos in these games and they just couldn't break through, right? It's like you have a decent drive, then you settle for a field goal, right? And the other team comes down, drives down the field, scores a touchdown. Like the fact that Denver is able to do this with a little bit of English exclamation point at the end of some of these drives shows me that they're starting to really figure it out and click as a team and click as an offense. And of course, a lot of that is led by Bo Nix. And it makes you think that, no disrespect to anybody on the Denver Broncos offense right now, we know their offensive line is great at keeping him upright and giving him some protection. But it makes you think where when they get a real pass receiving, like a pass catching tight end, like this was never going to happen. But like imagine they had Brock Bowers, or that type of a guy on offense. When they get some real deal wide receivers, either go draft a guy in the first round this year or make a free agent signing. I know that there was a lot of Broncos country that was clamoring for David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns. Point being, if the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix are able to hang 38 on the Falcons today, a pretty good team, a team that's in first place in their division, what does this offense look like when you really start to build it up with some legitimate playmakers? And again, that's not a slight or trying to disrespect any of the guys that are currently on the roster and that are currently playing. But this is a skill position group that is a bit hampered by the money that is tied up to Russell Wilson with his contract. That was, one of the reasons why the Broncos were maybe a little hesitant to eat the dead cap money, is because how it would hinder them over the course of this season. And Sean Payton has done a great job of working with what he's got. The wide receivers have done a great job of stepping up in spurts. And frankly, Bo Nix just continues to blossom and grow as an NFL quarterback, which I think is a huge sign of where this Denver Broncos team is, what this team's trajectory is. And so, you just love to see it today. So good stuff from Bo Nix. Again, 28 for 33, 307 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 145. His best game of the season comes after 2 brutal losses in a row for the Denver Broncos, and they are back in the win column above 500 at 6-5. You absolutely love to see it. All right, I got to hit my final break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about that defense. They stepped up today. As I mentioned, no touchdowns allowed for the Atlanta Falcons. Go ahead and drop some comments if you have anything you want to say. What was your biggest takeaway from the Denver Broncos game today? What did you think of Bo Nix? What did you think of the defense? Let me know, and we'll come back and continue along with the conversation right here on your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. Stick with me, folks. All right, you guys. Let me tell you about our friends over at... Wait, did I click the wrong thing? No, I did. Sorry. Huh. I clicked the thing and it takes me to a different ad read. But thankfully, I have done this FanDuel read a million times over. So let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, guys. They are my personal favorite sports book. Everything about FanDuel is what I love when it comes to a sports book, man. I'm an active FanDuel user, and I believe their promo that they're running right now is new customers bet $5, win your first $5 bet, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets with our friends over at FanDuel. And one of my favorite perks, or parts rather, of the FanDuel app is your ability to track these games and track these scores live, faster than ESPN or faster than Bleacher Report, certainly faster than the TV. It is my personal favorite sports book. I know it'll be yours too. I had a decent day in the betting department. A couple things didn't go my way. I missed on both my totals, but cleaned up with the Colts +4. What else did I hit on? Broncos -2.5, of course. I was on the Broncos here today. I hit another one. I'm trying to think of what it was. I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but all I know is I made a little bit of money today. And my final bet of the day for anybody looking for some action on the Sunday night game is the Cincinnati Bengals +1.5. I think it's a desperation spot for Cincinnati, and all those bets for me were placed on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So be sure to check them out, FanDuel.com, guys, and let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you. All right, you guys, welcome on back in to your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me here tonight. Really, really appreciate it. For any of you guys watching live on YouTube, make sure to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button as I continue to grow this channel. The channel is Locked On Sports Denver for any of you folks that listen to the audio version of the show. If you want to tap in with me live after each and every Broncos game, hopefully some playoff games throughout the course of the season, make sure to subscribe to your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. You guys can also follow me on social media at Media by AP. But okay, a couple of thoughts here on the defense before we get ready to shut the show down. Man, they just wreaked havoc today on Kirk Cousins in the offense. As I mentioned in the beginning of the show, less than 20 completed passes for Kirk Cousins today, 18 for 27, only 173 passing yards with a quarterback rating of 68.9. 68.9. They sacked Kirk Cousins 3 times today. They were just unable to get anything going on offense. Bijan Robinson only 35 yards on the ground. Drake London led the Falcons in yards receiving with 61, but that's not going to really move the needle for you. Ray McLeod had 46. Bijan had 28 out of the backfield, and Kyle Pitts relegated in this game. Only 1 reception for 9 yards for Kyle Pitts, who I feel like has seen an uptick in his production this season as Atlanta kind of tries to move forward here. But man, did the Broncos do a great job today. Jaquan McMillan leading the Denver Broncos with total tackles. He had 9 today, 5 of which were solo. You saw Nick Bonito, big old number 15, getting the job done. 2 sacks today for Nick Bonito. What is it? I believe that's now 9 sacks in his last 8 games, if memory serves me correctly. I mean, Nick Bonito has just been an absolute force for the Denver Broncos this season, an absolute force. And when you've got really solid cornerback play and Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain, of course, all that's going to do is help. And when you can kind of combine that with some solid pass rushing, as Nick Bonito and guys like Jonathan Cooper have been able to do, man, your defense is going to be disruptive. And look, the one game this year, at least in recent memory, that comes to mind about where the Broncos were exposed defensively was 2 weeks ago against the Baltimore Ravens. The Broncos defense held their own last week against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And today, against a likely playoff team in the Atlanta Falcons, the Broncos defense just chewed them up and spit them out. Malcolm Roach had a sack today. Just a lot of different guys working. Jonah Ellis there late in the game with the sack, man. But Nick Bonito just continues to be one of the I don't even know if surprise is the right word, because we knew that Bonito could be really good, but he's really just burst onto the scene here today, or this season, excuse me. Again, with 7 total tackles, 4 of them solo, and sacking Kirk Cousins twice. Riley Moss had 6 tackles. Devon Key with 5 tackles. I haven't really brought up Patrick Surtain's name because Patrick Surtain didn't really see the ball on his side of the field. They did an excellent job of just shutting down every explosive element of this Atlanta Falcons offense, as they were just unable. Like, that's most impressive to me. It's one thing when you maybe start a little bit slow and you adjust and you improve as the game goes along. The Broncos did not do that today. The Broncos closed the door from the moment that the game started, which is just incredible. Again, against a team that is likely going to make the playoffs, right? This is a quality or a type of team that the Broncos could see if they're able to make the playoffs themselves. And look, I think the NFC is better than the AFC. Just kind of looking at, specifically like the wild card standing. So, this is definitely a game that I would put some stock into if you're the Denver Broncos. Now, the question is here moving forward, what does the consistency look like? I'll break down the remainder of the Broncos schedule, or at least their next few games here coming up in just a moment. But, as far as today is concerned, how do you take what you did today and improve upon it and build upon it and get that 7th win next week? You still have your bye week coming up here. And, really 3 winnable games, like very winnable games. I mean, you could even say 4, depending on your opinion of the Chargers. But next week, they travel to Vegas to take on the Raiders, and they come home to take on the Browns, and then home again to take on the Colts. I mean, there's no reason why the Broncos should not win at least 2 out of 3 of those games, if not all 3. Again, the Browns aren't very good. The Colts, they can essentially wipe them out of the playoff race with a win there in a couple of weeks. And then the Chargers at home, which, is a winnable game. The Broncos were on the road, excuse me. The Broncos lost to the Chargers earlier this year at home, but they can certainly, I'm not afraid. I don't think the Chargers is an automatic loss. And then they'll finish out the season. Can't believe we're already getting down to it with the Bengals and the Chiefs. So, a lot of runway still ahead of the Denver Broncos, and they're going to make the playoffs if they can take care of business and just continue to put one foot in front of the other, focus on what they've got in front of them. And I think the other key is, can the defense maintain its pace, and can Bo Nix continue to rise as a rookie quarterback and just as a quarterback in general? Because I'm pretty confident in saying that the defense will be as advertised the rest of the way this season, bearing any significant injuries. I feel pretty confident in saying that the Broncos offense, will continue to be on that upward trajectory as well. Because what have you seen from Bo Nix that makes you think this is a fluke? What makes you think that they're not going to be able to keep this thing up? I just think the reason we've seen Bo Nix and the Broncos offense improve is because they're getting more reps. They're getting more looks, right? You'll have Josh Reynolds. I was talking with Troy Rink at the Denver Post earlier today. Reynolds is going to be, back, playing in games here, hopefully in a couple of weeks or so, maybe even next week. We'll have to see how that shakes out. Does Audric Estime and does Javonte Williams kind of find that second burst after today's game? Will Cortland Sutton continue to impress? Will the Devon Velays and the Little Jordan Humphreys of the world continue to make impacts in the wide receiving group? I mean, these are all things that are still questions that are waiting to be answered, but you saw today what they're capable of. And so that's what's exciting for me today is the Broncos not only snap their 2-game losing streak, they do it in not even pretty convincing. They do it in dominant fashion, taking down the Atlanta Falcons 38-6 here today. So one more time before we get out of here, guys. Bo Nix, 28 for 33, 307 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, man. I mean, he was slinging that ball all over the field. I didn't even think I said this. Hold on. He completed like 80% of his passes today. Like 80% of his passes did Bo Nix. I mean, he was just absolutely on fire, which you love to see. The Broncos, 22 first downs today. They were great there. Third down efficiency, nearly 50%, a little higher actually, 6 for 11. They did a great job of, out passing Atlanta today, 295 passing yards to Atlanta's 176. They outgained nearly double up on Atlanta for total yards in the game. The Broncos had 400 total yards of offense compared to Atlanta's 226. I mean, they outrushed Atlanta 105-50. I mean, everything about this game was coming up Denver Broncos. Everything, absolutely everything. And now the key here is moving forward, how do they continue to build some momentum? Again, next week against the Raiders, good spot to do that. Back at home the following week against the Browns, good chance to keep it going. Home against the Colts, these are all very winnable games, in my opinion, for the Denver Broncos as they're on that path, 6-5, still plenty of work to do, but the Broncos are certainly trending in the right direction thanks to Bo Nix, thanks to the defense, and the overall grind that is the NFL season. But guys, that is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for tuning into your Locked On Broncos postcast as they win today against the Atlanta Falcons 38-6. Make sure to like this video, smash that subscribe button, and check me out on social media at Media by AP. But that is going to do it for me, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll talk to you guys next week as the Denver Broncos look to make it 2 wins in a row. Have a good Sunday, folks.